Hello Internet, thank you once again for joining me to talk all things vertical drama. I have the wonderful, very talented, very beautiful Alexandra Swanbeck joining us, who has been in a whole host of vertical dramas playing very different roles. So, Alexandra, where are you from? Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Very different answers. I was born in Texas and then quickly moved to Australia in the middle of nowhere, outback. And then I moved back to Texas for a few months, and then to Nigeria, and then to Singapore, and then to Australia again, and then to Singapore again, and then to Texas again. And then I went to university in Oklahoma. And then I moved in with my parents in Canada for a bit. And then I moved to London for a bit. And then I moved to Vancouver. And now I live in LA.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you're really good at packing fast, I imagine, and moving
Yeah.
house and labelling boxes.
It's kind of in an upsetting way where like I'll be leaving for the airport in like an hour and just finish packing. I'm like, I've got time. It'll get done.
So was that a parent's job then that was kind of leading you to travel the world?
Yeah, my dad worked in construction, so we'd move around for whatever big projects he was doing engineering work on.
And do you have kind of memories of like a favourite country growing up in that
I,
was kind of awesome as a kid to be living in?
yeah, I loved Singapore so much. That's where I spent the longest. So I was there for 8 years. And I loved it being summer all year round and so warm. It had great playgrounds. Same with Australia, great playgrounds, all the important stuff.
You know, playgrounds are important. Like, I
Yeah.
do rate places still by playgrounds, even though my kids are too old for them now. I'm like, good
Yeah.
playground.
There was
Um,
some in Perth in Western Australia that I loved so much, and we would beg our parents to go to all the time. Even when we were like kind of a bit too old for them too, like 13 or 14, we were like, I'm gonna go back to Kings Park.
okay, so what in Alexandra's head is the mark of a good playground? Like, what's the key thing you've got to have?
I like good engineering. A lot of the ones that are like kind of made of like trees and woods as well, like that feel like you're merging nature with the playground. The one in Perth that I'm thinking of, it was so woodsy and so many like petrified tree trunks you could crawl through, and it was like built around the like little river bend or pond. It was fun. Things that are just easy to play like make believe inside of. It was great.
So, in between playgrounds and moving around, was acting something you were interested in from a young age, or was that a later development?
Yeah, always. I wanted to do whatever drama club or theater program I could in schools. I loved it so much. I was really big into drama and dance at whatever new school we were moving around to.
Was it quite an easy way then to almost acclimatise to somewhere new? Of like, I can go
It
and
was,
join
yeah.
this, and then I kind of am in with my people.
Yeah, I could find the theater nerds wherever. They're everywhere.
So, any favourite roles then of when you were
Ooh, that I've just ever done
just in school days? School days,
in
yeah.
school days. When I was in high school in Texas, I did this play called Radium Girls. That
Mm.
was quite fun. I just loved my cast, and it was a great time. It was my senior year, so it was like my last play in high school, and I had a great time working on that one. That was very fun.
And then when you graduate high school, kind of what were your choices? And I guess there's the thing of do you go acting, or was it like need to go and do something a little bit more practical, or
Yeah, I
yeah.
was pretty determined. I was auditioning for a lot of different universities' drama programs,
Mm.
and I got into the one in Oklahoma, which was fantastic, and I loved my training that I got from there. So I was fully ready to commit to acting. I had done my first professional show when I was 16 in high school with the Houston Grand Opera. They were doing like the national tour of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Carousel when it came through. It was so lovely. I was one of the child actors. I was like the mean rich girl who makes fun of Billy Bigelow's daughter, and um, had such a great time. But I remember going into that thinking, I kind of hope I hate it a little bit and decide I don't want to do acting ever again, and this is a horrible experience, because that would be a much easier career path to pursue. But then I loved it, and I was like, I have to do this. This is all I want to do. So went really only searching for universities that would offer me drama programs as well to study.
I have to ask actually, do you know if you've got any vertical alumni from Oklahoma? Because sometimes.
I do, yeah. Sydney Culbertson, she's done a bunch of roles as well. Yeah, so we were in the same year together. We took many classes together in drama school.
Oh my, because so many of you are coming through, and I guess a kind of similar generation. So once you've kind of graduated, I guess, yeah, what was your path as an actress, and sort of how far along was it before verticals entered your life?
Yeah, it was actually a bit for me. I was so tired after theater school 4 years of it. I was a little burnt out, and so I took a bit of a break and was really considering not acting again. I was applying to grad schools for directing or other pursuits. I still knew I wanted to be in the entertainment industry and probably specifically in filmmaking, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I knew I just needed a bit of a rest. I went traveling around Europe for a bit with one of my friends and then got a job in London as an au pair for some of my friends and was staying with her in London, and it was lovely and amazing and such an ideal time. And then I moved to Vancouver and I started taking a new acting class again for like the first time in a year of not auditioning, not doing anything acting related, and fell in love with it again. I loved my teacher in Vancouver at Brian Markinson. He was incredible, and I was fully reminded how much I loved acting and that this was what I wanted to pursue.
It's really
So,
interesting you mentioned that you knew you wanted to do film because obviously, your first professional job was on stage. So, yeah,
yeah.
what is it about film in particular that really captured you?
When I was in school for acting in Oklahoma, I got to work on a few film projects. There was a lot of films that were coming through and shooting there, and so I got to work on some Lifetime movies, some bigger Lionsgate stuff as a PA, and realized I really liked the medium of filmmaking. Even when I was doing like short student films, I I liked the specificity and intimacy you could get with a film camera to show that to the audience versus just on stage with an audience. I love both. I love both so dearly. But in theater school, having done only theater and discovering film, I realized I really enjoyed that medium a lot.
So when you were up in Canada and you were with those acting classes, was that specifically for like TV or film or theatre, or was it more a kind of techniques? What was the focus there?
It was a scene study class. It was a theater class. I find I actually mostly enjoy taking acting classes that are scene study classes from plays. I've taken actually just a few specifically acting for film and TV or on camera classes. Mostly I like going back to studying like long scenes and like really intricate like character work with scene partners and having like a the teacher being able to coach you through that. So they were doing more similar stuff like that in Vancouver.
So when you were in Vancouver, were verticals happening then, or was this a bit pre-vertical?
I don't know. I think they just started to get onto my radar because I'm not Canadian. I'm just American, but I got a temporary like worker exchange visa to go be in Canada for 2 years. So I found an agent there and was auditioning around. And then my visa was expiring, so I knew I'd have to move to America and LA to pursue acting
Yeah.
further. And it was right when I was moving in the summer of 2024, I just started seeing verticals everywhere on Actors Access. And that's really when they got into my radar. So I hadn't started doing them in Vancouver. And so moved to LA in the summer of 2024, started taking background and like day player roles on verticals because I was too scared to submit for the leads. I was like, I don't know what these are. I'm gonna go check them out, just like be on set, talk with the crew, see what's up. And I did a few and they were lovely and delightful. Some of my first ones were with Kirby Elwood. She was the lead and I was doing like day player roles and I got to watch her work and I was like, oh, she's lovely and delightful. All these crews lovely and delightful. These are like so fine. It's such a great time. It reminded me a lot of the Lifetime movies I had done. So then started working in them more myself.
That's really interesting. Yeah, could you expand on that, like the similarities of the Lifetime movies? Because I think that would be interesting for people.
Very
Because there's a
fast.
similarity in viewers, so obviously from
Exactly. Yeah,
the full point of view.
completely. Similarity in like the shooting style too of it being very non-union, very all hands on deck and like sort of a smaller crew and higher page count days. It felt very similar to what I'd experienced on the Lifetime movies I'd done too.
And then with Lifetime, I mean, obviously, I know the ones I know are kind of the high drama ones. Is there kind of, do you think, a bit of an overlap in the type of role as well? Not completely, but that it is often quite emotionally intense
A
again.
little bit, I think so. The Lifetime movies I done were a bit more like high school thriller-y, and I think Verticals are just even more heightened in everyone's characterization of being, oh, the demure ingenue who needs rescuing and saving, and the really evil mean girl who's heightened and trying to ruin the day. So it felt very similar, but the archetypes were just quite a bit more heightened for Verticals.
So am I right in thinking your first vertical was Deadly Husband?
Yes, yeah, that was my first one.
And you, I mean, it's quite revolutionary for vertical now in the way they were almost more inventive than haven't been as much.
Yeah.
Because
That one was interesting. I've not had one that was so different plot wise. And that was the first one I was doing a lead on. And no big banquet scenes, really just the four of us and in one house, one location the whole time, and I'm pretending to be blind.
that's very
Yeah.
vertical. Yeah.
That part's very vertical.
But yeah, it was just the fact that it almost felt like a play in that it's just four characters interacting, but also, I don't think I'm spoiling it too much, but Brooke Moultrie plays the villainess in it, and she is a terrifying villainess, but has an arc. There is a story there.
Yeah.
And which means then that for your character it's more interesting because Eva gets to work with her and kind of, allegiances shift.
Yeah, completely. I loved working with Brooke on that one so much. She was my first real vertical friend of getting to know her on that set, and I remember coming at it with such a drama school head of like really trying to ground this character and make her really real, and I'm acting off of Brooke, who is doing everything you should as a wonderful vertical actress and being so heightened and understanding the medium and the form, and me watching her and doing a scene with her, I'm a little taken aback and like, is this what you're supposed to do? What's going on? This is so big. Are we supposed to be bigger? And I wasn't understanding it, and then I watched the edit when it finished, and I'm watching the two characters. I'm like, oh, Brooke knows exactly what she's doing. She looks so good as a villain, and it's so heightened, and it makes so much sense. And watching back, I feel a little bit as though my character doesn't make a lot of sense because she's so like invested in the world. And a lot of the times I've found that vertical worlds just sort of operate a little bit different than our world, and it makes a lot more sense when you heighten yourself as the character to fit in that world. And I just learned so much from Brooke, and I love watching her and cannot wait to get to work with her again one of these days.
I can remember sitting with two producers in London who were asking me about, but doesn't the logic bother you in verticals? And I'm like, no, we've already left logic at the door.
Yeah, it's gone.
If we're in a
We don't
vertical,
need
logic's
to
gone. Like,
Yeah,
it's fine.
exactly.
We'll ride with whatever's happening. And then I think another one, which I remember you messaging me about, and it's got such an annoying title because it's so beautiful.
I know.
I love her in a wheelchair who cannot walk, which kind of tells you what happens, which is really annoying.
I love her in a wheelchair who cannot escape. I know.
And it
I
doesn't
love that
actually
one so much.
happen until a way through, so it kind of ruins part of the
And
story.
he's barely in a wheelchair. Like, also sorry, like, it was
But that
called
was-
Break But Not Break Up when we were shooting it, and then they changed the title, and yeah.
But that must have been a quite a change because obviously you've got stunning scenery in that one. It always reminds me a bit of Walk in the Clouds because it's all set on a vinery.
Yes, I know.
Winery? Can't pronounce. And you get to wear a cute headscarf and look, it's just adorable.
Yeah. That one was so sweet. I loved the director on that one, Sergio, and working with Ali was amazing. That was my second ever one, and I loved working up at that vineyard. It was so fun and beautiful, and then the silly title.
Silly title. And then you got to work with Brooke again. Sleep with My Sister's Fiance.
Oh, that's right, I did. Yes, I totally did forget that. I had no idea she was on that set. Again, I just signed up to be a day player on that. And I was like evil wedding guest or something, and I saw Brooke there, and I was like, oh my goodness.
And then we have what I call your Firefighter Era.
Yes, I did have a bit of a firefighter era.
Well, you get carried around a lot by men in uniform. Are you okay being carried? Because I know some people really don't like it.
I don't mind it at all, but I'm a bit taller, so I'm not as tiny as a lot of the other girls are, and there's a lot of times they'll want just full dead body, like dead fish weight, and like me with both my arms back, and I'm like, I'm not self-conscious about my weight, but I just weigh a bit too much for us to do that for 10, 15 takes from all different angles for this guy to be carrying me. So I always change it so I can like cheat on arm or something behind his neck and like put more of the pressure on his shoulders instead of just his arms, because it's a bit tricky. But personally, I don't mind it. They're doing a lot more of the work than I am.
But that makes you a really good scene partner that you're thinking about. So that's really considerate. Oh,
I try. They work so hard. Those firefighters, they gotta rescue so many people. The first firefighter one I did, Fires in Desire, I shot that one in Vancouver, so they flew me back up to go shoot in Vancouver. And it was set in LA, and they made it very based, I think, on all of the LA fires that were happening at the time.
So you got to film Canada, and then I think, is it My Boss Thinks I'm a Boy? Was that the first one where you went to China?
No, that was in LA. That with
I don't know. I thought that was in China for some reason. So yeah.
That one was in LA, and that was my first real vertical villain, because I had done the Kaylee Candy Jar movie, but she was a very soft villain. I loved Sloane so much, and I worked to really like understand her character and make her very sympathetic. But then with My Boss Thinks I'm a Boy, got to go full heightened evil villainous vertical girl, and I had a lot of fun doing that.
What were like your favourite things that you can bring as a villainess that you can't as a
just getting
heroine?
to act so campy, and also you have a very strong agenda as a villain, which is very fun. Like, you have very clear wants and goals and things you want to get done, versus the vertical female lead. Usually your want is to keep your family safe, keep your dying grandmother alive, find your 5-year-old nephew who's been adopted by the man you had a one-night stand with 5 years ago. And then the vertical villain is like, I very much want this and this and this, and I'm going to stop at nothing to get it done. And that I find a lot of fun to play.
Kaylee, your candy jar one. How was that? Because that was a whole nother level for vertical, because they did it horizontal as well, and there was a premiere and everything. It was much more of a movie than just a vertical.
Yeah.
So how was it being part of that whole production?
A dream. It was so amazing. It was some of the best times of my entire life I think I've had on set. It was an incredible cast. We just established the most amazing chemistry with each other. The 6 of us that were playing like the main high school characters, we all met at the fitting that we had kind of incidentally, because usually they'll schedule fittings so that way one person comes in and then work on them, and then the next person will come in, but they were delayed with like the first 2, I guess, or so everyone was still there at the same time, and we all met, we all exchanged numbers. Shannon, who played Kaylee, set up a group chat, and then we all got dinner together the next night on a Friday before we started shooting on Monday, and we all just got to know each other, sat down, asked questions. Our lovely gal Isha was asking some of the sweetest questions to like all get to know each other a bit more, and it just set up the most wonderful, lovely environment for us to go into shooting this story together and feel like such a team, and so excited to be encouraging of each other, and really all just wanting to try our hardest and put our best work forward. And it was so fun. And our amazing director, Emily, like, it was a dream to work and bring her vision for this story to life.
How is it, because obviously Shannon and David had worked together before, so how is it sort of fitting in with something when there's already like an established cast dynamic and then sort of coming in? Because I'd imagine that could be a little daunting.
I wasn't so nervous, but I did not expect for us to all bond as much as we did. I sort of figured, Ella and Shannon and David have already done this before. They're already coming in and doing this. If they've got a groove and are sort of set up, I'm number 7 or something on the call sheet. I'm not going to insert myself where I'm not needed. I'm going to let these people lead their story and do what they want. Like, I was prepared to just sort of come in and come out and do my job. But they were so warm and welcoming and inviting from the first moment we met each other at the fitting. It didn't even feel like a possibility that we weren't going to be closer friends. They were so excited to have new people there. I had no trepidations about coming in too because my character didn't exist in the first version, so I did feel like I had the agency to sort of make her my own completely because she didn't exist before. So that made it easy too for me to feel excited and encouraged to come into this new space.
And can you talk a little bit about the premiere as well? Because that was really one of the first vertical premieres. It was like one of the first actual vertical events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was insane. It was the craziest event I've ever been to. It was so fun. Emily hosted a little cocktail hour for the cast and crew at a hotel beforehand, so we all got to meet up again there. And I mean, all of us were texting, so everyone was flying in, and my parents had like an Airbnb, and I invited some people over, and we got to see each other again. And then left from the hotel on the day to go to the event, and the event was insane. There was Kaylee's bedroom was completely redone in the hallway, and we got to see her like bed and posters and stuff. There was lockers up that everyone could sign on. There was a bracelet making station that would match her necklace that she wore. There were the race car games from the arcade and the basketball games from the arcade scene where they're flirting with each other was set up. It was an enormous party. It was so cool, and it felt so surreal to get to see that movie on a big screen. It was really magical to get a little sappy in Hollywood. It was so special.
And what is it like for your parents?
They had a good time with it. My first Lifetime movie, I was very much the same sort of mean girl, but a bit more murdery in that one.
I love that it's a bit more murdery. Yeah.
That's a little bit. I mean, Sloane might. Nah, I don't know. She's a strong gal. She could get up to some stuff. But they had a really great time getting to see me do all that. It was, I mean, they've always known since I was a kid that I really liked acting, and they aren't harsh critics. I don't feel like I'm ever struggling to get their approval or their praise, but I really respect their opinion. And there was a time in college when my dad went to see one of my plays, and it was about an all-girls indoor soccer team called the Wolves, and an amazing play, by the way, it's so good. But he saw that one, and I remember him saying a few things to me about how he thought like that performance really changed. He's like, I think this was one of your best ones that I've ever seen, and it's very impressive. And that felt so good, and not something that I was like holding out for or waiting. I'm like, oh, finally I've got their approval. It was just like, whoa, I think I'm really gonna be able to do this. And he said a similar thing to me after seeing my performance as Sloane and Kaylee, and it felt so amazing and encouraging to really get to see that my parents are really excited about what I'm doing too. So it was very fun.
Okay, so 2026. I think it'd be fair to say that quite a lot of verticals have got a bit more extreme. And there's been a lot more of kind of female heroines, being put through the ringer and the kids in a car and lots of people dying and trauma and blah, blah, blah. Which is why it was really wonderful when we found The Single Mum and her Mr. Swipe Right, which is like the cutest, like fluffiest, most adorable vertical possibly ever.
Oh, I love that one so much. I loved our directors, Josh and Leong. They fought so hard to make that script so as wonderful as it was. It was a delight.
And that one of your first times playing a mum? Have you done a mum before, or
the firefighter one? I was a mum before.
That's fine.
It's one this time, easy. Yeah, because I don't have a kid, and then I was just pregnant in CEO Baby Mama, and then because it was funny. I was shooting Kaylee for 3 weeks, and then as soon as we wrapped, the next day I was flying to Vancouver from playing a 17-year-old high schooler to playing a mama 4. A day later, I was like, great, yeah, absolutely. And then I don't think I had kids again until Single Mom Swipe Right, yeah. And Ember is genuinely not just the best child actress I've ever worked with, one of the best actresses I've ever worked with. She was an improviser and in the scene and ready to go and play with anything that was different. She was responding to everything that might have even changed a little bit in the scene. She was phenomenal. Oh, she was so adorable.
It's interesting because I think that comes across on the screen, and there's this really, like, there is a proper family vibe between you, obviously her, and sort of Ben. There's actually a family vibe there, and you don't always get that, and I think that's quite hard to establish in a vertical quite quickly.
Hmm.
I did also like the fact when he has his car packed full of toys.
That was
Like,
cute.
that's kid heaven.
He opens the Cybertruck and like all the snacks and toys fall out. That was really sweet.
That would be a good day if, like, your whoever's job on set it is to, like, stuff the car full of stuff so
Yeah.
it falls out. And then yes, more recent ones. Lion's Bride,
Yeah. That would
which
I
is
would
really different and is, I think, your first real full-on mafia one.
Yeah, no, not done the Mafia one at all before. I was so nervous for that one because it's a bit bigger and bolder than I've done before in a vertical. And on paper, like reading the script, it scared me so much. But there was so much good characterization and dialogue between the two of them. Like everything that was going on, she felt strong and was like fighting back and like, no, why are you doing this? You're just trying to embarrass me. Be a real person. Like, be real with me. Like, what's going on? As opposed to just start weeping and crying and not doing much of anything. So I like that she had a bit of fight to her. And then I had meetings with the director Ariel and our intimacy coordinator, and they were amazing. I was emailing back and forth with the casting director, and she was sending all my notes to the clients because I had a lot of things in the script that I was like, this all needs to change or be modified before I can sign on. And they were so receptive and so understanding. Ariel was having amazing conversations with me that made me feel so excited and comfortable. And then we had our first fitting, and I met Sam, and we were doing our read through, and that felt great too, and we were having good vibes. But I was still pretty nervous, and we'd finished the fitting on a Sunday, and I think we were gonna shoot on a Monday or a Tuesday. I think we were shooting on Tuesday, and it was the night before, and I was still so nervous and still a little bit prepared to pull out and not do the shoot at all. But I showed up to set, and we do our first scene, which is where I'm stuck in the. Have you gotten this far? Where I'm stuck in the dryer, and
I haven't got that far, but it's fine. Carry on.
there's a scene where I'm
I'm
stuck in
watching
the
it
dryer.
afterwards. Don't worry, it's my evening.
I'm like stuck in the dryer because my hand is super glued to the back of the dryer because the villain put my phone with super glue in the back of the dryer, so I get stuck and my behind is up in the air in a promiscuous fashion, and Sam has to come behind me to come rescue me. But the way that it's written is very kind of just like goofy, sexy situation, but the way the room was actually built was kind of too small for him to actually have any room to come behind me, so I had to kind of sit down on my ankles and be in a bit more of a realistic position for a
Yeah.
human, and him to just come behind me and sort of like be there and holding my shoulder and arm. And it turned into the sweetest, most genuine, tender moment that I would have never expected from the way the dialogue was written. It was just something between the chemistry of Sam and I that clicked in that moment, and we made it so sweet and so tender and so meaningful. And then that sort of just continued for the rest of the entire shoot, of the chemistry between Sam and Ariel and I, the three of us being able to turn these scenes into really tender, nice, soft beats that felt that they could have been performed in a way that was very on the nose of, ooh, this is a funny, tongue-in-cheek, sexy situation, and turn them into very lovely, interesting, playful character moments. It was so fun. It was one of my favorite vertical experiences was working with Sam and Ariel.
So it sounds like the key to that is obviously yourself, lead, your fellow lead, but also the third part of that is the director, and it kind of when all three of
Yeah.
those mesh, and then also the fact that the clients were like, we're trusting you, make these,
Oh,
make these
completely. Oh my goodness.
beautiful.
The clients were so, so cool on set about letting us play
Yeah.
and do what felt good.
And is that, presumably that's just a lot more rewarding as well, sort of when you're able to have that input and sort of
Yeah.
between the three of you together work out how you actually want to tell it and add all your sort of individual creative moments to it.
Yeah, completely. It makes me feel so fulfilled and feel like a real artist again, where I get to have an input. Because sometimes the job is just they really just want a mannequin to be there and stand there and deliver the lines and give you the facial expressions that they're looking for, which is fine if you've got a very heavy-handed client and that's just what they're looking for. That's fine. It's not a process that gives me as much excitement or joy or why I really love acting. And so, but it's a job. And then there's chances that I get to do work like I did with Sam and Ariel, and you feel like an artist and an actor and a collaborator, and it's so fun.
So I have to ask, because obviously you went and you had the premiere for Kaylee. With something like this, do you watch it back? Or are you like, I don't want to see myself?
The Kaylee one.
Yes, obviously that one you had the whole premiere, so obviously you're in a cinema watching it. But with a normal vertical on your phone, do you ever watch them back? Or do you kind of just try and move on?
Do sometimes. I did watch Mafia, The Lion's Bride, but mostly because I'm usually watching them because I'm trying to see what scenes or footage I can steal to use in my reel. Because
Yeah.
for the Lion's Bride one, also our director of photography, Leo, the shots are so beautiful and well lit. There's a few scenes that I actually have already stolen and put in my reel and cropped to look like they are just 4x3 and just kind of like a square,
Yeah.
and not vertical, and put in my regular horizontal reel because they're so stunning and gorgeously lit. And so usually I'm watching them to mine for good gems I can just still use in my work, but sometimes I'll watch them just for fun.
And then I have to ask you about the project, which I think is when we first really chatted a little bit on Instagram, which was I over Christmas, decided to randomly do a load of posts about, they should do Jane Austen verticals. These people should be cast. Ha, ha, ha. And I did Pride and Prejudice. And I thought, Alexandra Swanbeck would be a really good Jane. And the next thing I know, you've messaged me going, yes.
I was like, I was following along with all your posts so much. I thought they were so sweet. I love Jane Austen so dearly, and you made some excellent casting choices. And then you got to Pride and Prejudice last, and you cast me as Jane, which also meant so much to me because I love Jane so dearly. Like when I read books like Pride and Prejudice or Little Women, and there's the very strong, wonderful, amazing Elizabeth or Jo character. I read it and I'm like, I know that's not me. I know in my heart of hearts, I'm a Jane or a Meg or a Beth. Like that's who I definitely feel like most. So I felt so honored and seen when you posted that. But at the same time, I was currently filming a Pride and Prejudice vertical and was playing Jane, and so I had to let you know because it was really exciting. And I'm still waiting for it to come out because it was so sweet and so cute, but I don't know what they're doing with the app or the producers yet. So hopefully it's just still coming.
It was kind of a modern update, wasn't it? So you didn't get to do the period dress, but
No, it wasn't period. It was modernization. So it was an interpretation of Pride and Prejudice, but we all had our same character names, just set in modern day and a little bit different of a plot, but most of the bones are still there. I do have a Bingley love interest. In the script, actually, it was funny. His name was William Bingley, and I'm like, I went to
that's
the director.
confusing.
I know, it's like his name's Charles. We're gonna call him Charles. It should be Charles,
It's
but he's not gonna.
William Darcy. You can't
That's what I said. I was
move
like,
the
it's
William.
William Darcy and Charles Bingley, and they're like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then they all stood there on Google and looked it up on their phones first, and they're like, "Oh, it is Charles. We'll do Charles." I'm like, "Yes, we will." I was very glad for that.
And do you get cruelly parted and then back together again?
It's a bit more dramatic. Yeah, we do. They in the modernization, they make Jane pregnant, and so I know, I know.
Oh, already exciting. Oh,
But I'm pregnant with someone else's, and I'm not telling him. And so then Darcy finds out, and that's what he tells to Bingley, and that's why Bingley breaks up with me and like leaves me, and then we've got a big, nice coming back together.
that's really clever, though. That's actually clever.
Yeah,
I love these like modern adaptations. There's a whole load of YouTube web series in the.
I know. The Lizzie
Did you watch the
Diaries.
Lizzie Bennet Diaries?
Of course, yes, she's an Oklahoma alumni as well. She went to my same drama school. The girl who plays Lizzie. I know. But
Ashley
those are
Clements. I love you, Ashley
so
Clements.
sweet.
I love that kind of idea of you take it, but you transpose, and you kind of like, okay, we don't have like the I guess, the social class thing that they were using of the reasons to
Yeah.
like split people up. So like, what can we bring in that would be more of a modern equivalent? And that's really
And like
clever.
would have the same stakes of what would change that. And so I had some really fun scenes with Darcy where Bingley like breaks up with me, and it's really sad and really intense that I'm leaving, and Darcy comes out and he's like, you know, you brought this on yourself, like this was, you should have told him from the truth. And I'm like, I was going to tell him in my own time. He's just like, well, were you? And we have like a fun little short fight scene before I run off and go find Lizzie again. It was sweet.
And was that nice getting to play sibling as well? Because again, that's not a relationship you often get to show in verticals.
Yes, it was so sweet. I had such a lovely time with my with the lead for who was playing Lizzie. So, she was such an amazing Lizzie, and we had a lot of really sweet scenes as sisters together, so that was really fun too. Like just two females that get to be on screen in a vertical that aren't catty or fighting, we're actually just sweet friends. Which I also felt in A Lover in a Wheelchair Who Cannot Escape, like my best friend that I had. We had a lot of sweet scenes in the vineyard and back in my bedroom where we got to just feel like real friends, and that was really nice too.
So, in all the verticals you filmed, okay, do you have a favourite stunt that you've done?
Ooh, favorite stunt. I don't know if this was, oh, probably Fires and Desires, the one in Canada. We had so many cool practical effects. We had 2 real fire trucks that we got to film on. There was one scene where we were inside, Evan and I, and they filmed the room up with fog and smoke, so much to when we were standing this close away from each other, we couldn't see each other's faces. It was fine to breathe. It was all fake fog, but it was just crazy and surreal. Then they called action. He scoops me up, kicks open the door, and runs out, and then they've got background like running back and forth, and then there's the guy with the practical fire effects who then shoots a giant fireball out of the door behind us, and then as he like comes out and looks real sexy and cool saving me, and that was very fun. The real fire trucks, we had a few scenes where we were using real fireballs with the pyrotechnics stunt coordinator guy, and he was so cool. He was absolutely, it was very safe and very well managed and handled, but also so cool.
It's just like, that's like proper filmmaking, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you would never get to do that anywhere else.
I think he had worked on some huge sets as a VFX guy, and so just knew all the proper tricks and trades to do to make it look really cool, but also be safe and well done.
Okay, I have to ask you now about costumes. They can vary. What are some of the worst things that you've had to wear? Like, what fills you with dread?
Oh, I think just because I'm so tall, it's the short dresses, especially when I know that wearing it for this scene means that 2 scenes later, when it's still the same day and I have to wear this dress, I have to do a Princess Carrie. I'm like, can we change this around? So I'm wearing a longer dress. Or one of the particular things is how frequently you're kidnapped and tied to a chair, and that matters what you're wearing for what you're going to be sitting in and tied to a chair for so long. And usually, again, it's asking for a bit of a longer dress, because then usually when you're tied to a chair, usually some hot CEO, billionaire, werewolf, vampire, whomever will come and rescue you, and they usually pick you up and carry you out when they're rescuing you. And so usually I'm asking for a bit of a longer skirt to come in for those scenes. This was not something that crossed my mind in drama school. That would be a consistent issue.
And then, do you have any favourite lines? Like anything that's kind of really stuck with you?
Ooh. One of my ones, the first one that comes to head is like a silly line that I just loved so much, and they were like, you can change this if you want. And I'm like, no, we're here already. I'm delivering it as written. Was for A Lover in a Wheelchair Who Could Not Escape. There's at the end when I'm talking about my brother, and Ali's character is talking to me, saying, "Who is he really? Like, explain this to me. Tell me who Mark is to you, because this is all confusing, because it's the vertical fake out where Ali is jealous and thinking that Mark is a potential love interest, and I have to be like, oh no, actually he's my brother, but I don't say that. Instead, I say, I've told you, he and I are closer than lovers." And that felt silly. And then the next line is immediately Mark goes, "What? Explain." And then I'm like, he's my brother. They're like, this makes no sense. Why do you want to say this? I'm like, I don't know. It's the last scene in the movie. It's so funny. Let's just roll with it. I'm enjoying this.
I can say as an audience member, I appreciated that as well. It's funny.
Great. Good. I'm so glad.
Um, Kind of with the verticals, obviously, it's grown and grown. Do you have a bit of kind of list of like people you'd like to work with now, whether it's like an app or directors or kind of fellow co-stars?
I've got some apps that I would love to work with, but mostly it's just good scripts and good opportunities to tell cool stories. Candy Jar is always on my list of people I'd love to rework with, but I actually just got to rework with them again this week, so I'm excited to see their new project come out soon. And then just ideal travel locations I'd love to go to shoot again. So, but mostly I'm just excited about good stories, good scripts. Anything that might even slightly be a period piece, I'm going to jump on.
Yes,
Yeah.
we need more verticals in the UK, and then you can come here and live your period
Yes.
dreams.
That's my dream. I'll come to
I have a
London.
list
Come
of
to
several of you who are like, I am there for the period dramas. So, yeah.
Literally, that's all I want to do is more period pieces and dramas. I'm writing some now that I haven't finished, but I'm going to try to steal money from some company to let me do and make some fun medieval ever after verticals.
That would be cool.
Right? Ever After is my
Craft is
favorite
so
movie.
good.
It's my favorite movie in the entire world. It's so good. And we should use more verticals like their love story. I think it'd be so fun.
Because it works on so many levels. Because like the step family are properly awful.
Yeah.
Cool. But you know, obviously the fact that she
Whip.
carries him, and then of course Leonardo da Vinci's in it. Why wouldn't Leonardo da Vinci be in it?
Why wouldn't he be? It makes no sense, but sure, let's absolutely include Leonardo da Vinci. He's got to design her gorgeous dress for the banquet scene.
And it is the best Cinderella dress glow up reveal ever.
It is the best one. It's so good. The music in that is so fantastic. It's unreal. I love that movie so much. I think I watch it almost every September 2nd. It's usually my birthday movie to watch.
Oh,
Of
okay. So,
course.
your favourite movie? Are there any other kind of, I guess, like that, comfort movies or TV shows that you go back to and revisit?
Ever After is probably one of my most favorite comfort movies. And then usually if I'm watching just for fun and entertainment and like comfort, it's usually TV shows because watching movies feels a bit like work to me. And I don't know why TV shows don't, but TV shows I really enjoy. My favorite show of all time is Community, that Dan Harmon sitcom. I love that show so much. I've watched it too many times where I could just play it in my head, but I do love that show. It's so funny. That and Fleabag. I love Female Leverage so much. It's so good.
Oh,
Yeah, those are my two favorites.
okay. And then what about musicals?
Oh, I do really want to see Hades Town. That was on tour through LA last year, maybe, and I didn't go see it. But I'm wanting to see that in person one of these days. And this, I don't know if I can ever rewatch it again. Actually, I think they're making a movie of it with Cynthia Erivo, and I will go see that. But when I was in London, I got to see Jodie Comer's one-woman show of Prima Facie, and that was heart-wrenchingly breathtaking. It was so amazing. It was so good, and that stuck with me so much. I know she already known she's a fantastic actress, but that was just it was incredible to watch. She is leagues above anyone else I've ever seen. It was really a tour de force of just seeing her be a non-stop powerhouse for the whole show. It was incredible.
So this is my hope that kind of you guys will kind of have the audience and then be able to also go back and do theatre as well. And that kind of you will bring an audience with you because people want to come and support you. Because I know that happened with Brooke. She kind of briefly did a musical and, you know, people wanted to go and support her doing that.
Mm-hmm. That was so cool.
Music. Are you a big music person?
I'm not musical myself. I cannot play any instruments or sing, but I enjoy listening to it a lot. It's kind of nice because I really enjoy appreciating it as an art form that I have nothing to do with. So I feel like a very artsy person, but music is not one of my talents. So I get to just be a fan of music, and I really like that.
And do you ever do anything like a playlist for characters? Do you use music at all for sort of mood and getting into things on set?
Completely. I do that almost every time. I like setting up a playlist that will be what I listen to when I'm driving to set to sort of get myself in the headspace. I'll do that, and I'll do Pinterest albums and Pinterest boards of my characters and sort of put together an aesthetic of what they feel like, what their day feels like, and get images. And then we'll listen to my playlist at the same time. Yeah.
So cool, and that's such a good use of Pinterest. Obviously, Pinterest is the
Yes.
best. And then just looking ahead, kind of what are you excited about this year? Obviously, you've mentioned another Gandy Jar project, but kind of what other things are you kind of looking forward to for next few months?
I'm excited about that. I've got a few more other fun things coming up, and I'm excited to keep writing more. I've not actually started to try to pitch or sell any of the things I've written, but this is the year to do that, and I want to keep writing things because I've got some good stories, and I want to try to make good stories too. So that's my goals of what I'm looking forward to this year.
Oh, right. Oh my goodness. I just want to say thank you because you are such a wonderful warm actress on screen, whether you're being bad or good. You're just wonderful to watch. And yeah, thank you for all your beautiful projects.
Thank you so much, Jen. That's so sweet of you to say. I want to say thank you to you for making such a wonderful, warm community to feel so excited about working in this industry for, and putting together so many resources and for fans and for creatives and everything. It's a joy to feel a part of this.